Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Glad to welcome you back to the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and it's time for our weekly Alabama Legends segment. It's proudly presented by the Paul W. Bryant Museum. Make sure you join them on campus before you watch the Crimson Tide play the Kentucky Wildcats coming up this Saturday. We're looking back at Alabama football history, and one man that has its presence known inside the Bryant Museum is Martin Houston, who was a starting fullback on the 1992 National Championship team. And also, Martin, you had a pretty good moment against Kentucky in your playing days. But first of all, just how's everything going, and how are you doing in Tuscaloosa?
First of all, thanks for having me, man. What a great opportunity to come and share. And things are going great here in Tuscaloosa, and glad to be on with you.
Well, of course, we're looking back at Alabama football history, and I mentioned it's Alabama against Kentucky. It's not necessarily a rivalry. Alabama's won the majority of the games against the Wildcats, but I know for you, the 1989 game really holds a special place in your heart.
Yeah, barely wearing the crimson jersey at that point. Had been redshirted in '88 and watched that disappointing loss up in Lexington. One of the few times they got us. But next year I had the unique opportunity. And only, I think my second carry of my career scored a touchdown against Kentucky. The only one that day, ironically, the only touchdown of the day.
Yeah, because there have been field goals before that. Kind of a defensive struggle. What do you remember about that final drive that led to your touchdown?
Well, usually Alabama's going to get everyone's best game anyway, and what I remember mostly was that I was standing on the sideline watching the great Kevin Turner help lead the team down the field, and fortunately, if you can't do everything well, try to find something you do well, and at that point, I had shown that I was pretty good at short yardage, and of course the touchdown was about a yard or so, and so I kind of ran out on the field, got the touchdown, ran back off. So, but the drive itself was, like one of those game-clinching drives that kind of put the game away.
And I'm sure even that moment just gave you a little bit of confidence moving forward that when it is first and goal, the 1 yard line, you just have to plunge it in to get a first down in different spots in the field. You have the ability to do that, and we really saw that all throughout the rest of your career.
Yeah, it definitely was huge, Roger, in terms of being able to, as I say, carve out a niche. And early on, when you're a young player, that's what you try to do. And then you hope as you grow throughout your career that you get an opportunity to do a little bit more. And fortunately for me, that did happen. And, I was blessed to be learning and competing and growing and sharing time with an all-time great in Kevin Turner, who kind of showed me the ropes, even though we were competing every day, did so much to help me. But that moment did go a long way in helping me have confidence, but also the team and the coaches have confidence in my ability.
And for you, such a great Alabama career that culminated with that national championship. Just what are you most proud of when you look back at your playing days?
Well, from a just how we did it thing, I would say that I tried to always do what was right in terms of on and off the field. Tried to be a good teammate, a good representative. Coach Stallings used to always tell us, you represent God, this university, your parents, and yourself in this team. So make sure you do that with the right attitude and right pride. And I would say that I was most proud of being able to do that successfully for 4 years on the field, and of course culminating with the national championship. From a playing standpoint, I would like to say I showed up for work every day, Roger, and did my job. Didn't necessarily as I had one of those jobs that if you did your job, someone else tended to get the glory in terms of the running backs or the quarterback, et cetera. But I would say that the thing I'm proud of the most on the field was that I showed up for work every day and did my job.
You certainly did, and a lot of fans love looking back at the pictures of you from that era wearing that number 35, but also the cowboy collar. You had the back of the jersey popped up big time, and I think anybody who was wearing that was imposing. Do you miss seeing that on the field as much, that cowboy collar?
Well, I miss seeing the fullback on the field, period.
Right.
but yeah, you know, it was. It looks like a fashion piece in a sense, but you know, if you go back and watch the film, Roger, that it was a physical game that I played in terms of just what the fullback was asked to do, from blocking, you know, linebackers to defensive ends to occasionally running a trap on a nose guard and then also blocking the safeties. I had one point where I had a pinched nerve, and you know, that collar went a long way to keep that head from you know, snapping back when you had those face mask to face mask or face mask in the chest type of licks. And so it looked imposing, but it served its job even better.
Well, that's certainly good to hear. Well, again, we're talking about Alabama, Kentucky today, but I know everyone's really looking forward as well to the Iron Bowl that's coming up for Alabama. And for you, you got to have some really unique Iron Bowl memories during your playing days, getting to go to Auburn for the first time after that game was moved there from Legion Field every other year, and then some great wins as well against the Auburn Tigers. Just what does the Iron Bowl mean to you?
Well, you know, it's so different today because there's so many other things and so many other distractions, et cetera, or things around the game other than just football. But what that meant was, man, you grew up either or, you know, and guys here had grown up dreaming, if you had played football for any length of time, of playing for one of those two teams. If you were a decent high school player, you had spent several years probably one day hoping that one of them would make you an offer. And so to have the privilege and the opportunity to get out there on that field and contribute and be a part of the history for us, and, you know, for me, of course, it didn't turn out the way we had hoped, but having the opportunity to play on that first ever team down in Auburn, and then having a chance in the 100th year to coach against what, you know, easily is Auburn's, you know, greatest legacy as a coach, Coach Dye, in his final game, to have an opportunity to on the field, one of the unique plays. If you go back to that 90 season where Alabama had lost, I think 4 in a row, Coach Stallings' first year, and they went to the big backs. It was me, Kevin Turner, and a guy that many people forget about because his career was short after that, was Junior Sewell, and all we did was line up and run right at him in that second half. And I had a unique opportunity, back to the story we talked about in Kentucky, that Coach Stallings called my number, you know, to when we went for it on fourth down, which could have been a game changer, and I was able to get that first down with some great blocking, and you know, and then we, you know, put the game away.
Well, let's bring it back to 2020. Of course, you follow this team closely. You're a sports talk host on Tide 100.9 here locally in Tuscaloosa. Just how do you feel about this Alabama football team, where we stand going into the Kentucky game? It's kind of been weird not having Alabama football the last 2 weeks with everything going on.
Oh, that's really been the strangest part, but it kind of fits into this strange year we call 2020. But this team, I think this team is special. I think that offensively they're as elite as any offense that's ever played at Alabama, and probably more balanced. I think there's been times, especially under Nick Saban, where we were a dominant run team and we were manageable, not necessarily because of the talent, but just the way the games were called, if that makes sense. A.J. McCarron could have thrown it all over the field if we had went that way, but we were just, you know, we were balanced, but we were, you know, just kind of middle of the road as far as offenses in the country. Now we're balanced. We're a top passer and top rushing team in the country, and it's just kind of crazy to think that we're still scoring at the elite pace we're scoring at but we're also a physical offense. And I didn't know if we could get back to that, Roger, but still don't have the fullback, but I'm at least we are running downhill, and Najee's finishing runs, and we're physical. We're not just a finesse team, this offense, and I think that bodes well for us, because I don't think we'll have what happened to us in the Clemson game with Tua, where we were very elite offensively, but we ran into a team that said, hey, okay, let's take away the pass and see if they can run the ball on us. I think if you do that this year, you'll find yourself on the physical end of a long beat down from this Alabama team, and I think that's what makes this offensive team elite. And Mac Jones is playing as well as any quarterback that's ever played here. Najee Harris is playing as well as any running back that's ever played here. Devontae Smith is playing as well as any wide receiver that's ever played here. And all three of those could very well leave here single season-wise the best ever, and a couple of them potentially career-wise the best ever. So, and I think the defense is coming along, Roger. I think that's what's making this team special. Is I think the defense is ready to get back to. We're never going to get back to that 12 points per game. I call 17. You know how they say orange is the new whatever. I say that 17 is the new shutout. So we hold somebody to 17 or less. I consider it a shutout in this day and age. But I do think the defense is better, and I think we'll see that backed up on tomorrow.
Certainly hope so. Well, Martin, we enjoyed catching up with you. And again, you host a show on Tide 100.9. What else are you up to? What can you tell our fans?
Well, I'm up to a lot. I start every day off, as you said, with the Martin Houston Show on Tide 109 from 6 to 7 a.m. And I do it live on Facebook under the show name, The Martin Houston Show, so they can catch it there live or in replay. Then I leave from there and head to Alabama One, where I run the insurance agency, Alabama One Insurance, and oversee financial wellness for the credit union. And then I just finished up coaching high school football at Northridge, so that part-time gig is on siesta right now. But I also pastor a church, Harvest Church out in Coker, and then of course anytime I get to share and speak and do some motivational speaking, I do that. But the thing I love the most, Roger, and some Alabama fans will remember this, that little kid that was in that Sports Illustrated in 1989 is now 29. And then I have 3 other kids, so I have a total of 4 and 3 grandchildren. And so they keep me pretty busy as well. And my wife and I will celebrate 31 years of marriage this Monday. So God's been really good to me, man. I am blessed beyond more than I should ever have thought possible.
Well, Martin, it's been great to catch up. And again, you got your plate full there, but again, you're doing very well. And we're certainly glad you joined us today for our Alabama Legends segment, and wish you all the best moving forward. But thank you again for your time today, and a big Roll Tide.
Thank you, Roger. Roll Tide, and thanks for all you guys do as well. Let me know if I can help in any other way.
All right. Our thanks to Martin Houston. Thank you for watching and listening to the Crimson Tide Sports Network.